tell you about a project that we developed together on the TV tower in Berlin. Very quickly, we are going to introduce our companies. So I'll start with Timescope. Timescope, for those of you who haven't heard of it, our idea is to help cities, regions to tell their history through immersive technologies. So how does this work? We develop experiences that take you back in time. So we take visitors back in the past, where it's as though they were traveling through time, through the use of different technologies around immersion and all things digital. We work with many partners, including MAGNICITY. They're one of our favorite and long partners. We work with the Center of National Museums. We're at the Arc de Triomphe in Villers-Cotterêts. We work with Chalon, Châteaudun, different cities. And we're also in Belgium, in Namur, for instance. As for MAGNICITY, we're a French company, but we are present in Europe and in the US. We are leaders in altitude urban tourism. This means that we're present in Chicago, Berlin, Paris, Rotterdam. We take visitors to high sites. So we're on top of the Montparnasse Tower and at the TV Tower in Berlin, in the Hancock Tower in Chicago, and at Euromast, which is also a tower, which is National Museum Monument in the Netherlands. We make people discover the city with the whole 360 panorama. And we add to this discovery because we offer experiences. So we provide information on the city, on its history. We also provide real experiences so people can feel vertigo and other sensations. The idea being to have a very comprehensive experience. What you can see here is Berlin's Odyssey. It's what we created with Timescope. We're about to tell you more about this. It's an experience that allows people to learn more about the history of the city. So we cover 900 years of history. So it's not only about current Berlin and the landscape. It's you understand what you see also through the history of Berlin, and it's what Timescope also worked on. So we worked with Timescope, as we said, we've long been partners. We created an app during COVID so that we could offer tourists and visitors who are stuck at home to discover these cities through augmented reality panoramas. And I was talking about thrill experiences. Tilt is an attraction that tilts the windows and makes you feel as though you were about to fall. It's in Chicago, and it's quite thrilling indeed. Let you tell us about Berlin's Odyssey, maybe? Today we want to tell you about a specific project, Berlin's Odyssey. We developed it in Berlin.
And all those tours do work.
The TV tower is their Eiffel Tower. It's really an attraction monument for locals, for German people, as well as for tourists. It attracts about 1 million people a year. It's a point of interest in the city. That's enough. For a wide array of public and audiences. Nonetheless, when you go up that tower, and we lose our bearings, we don't know where we are. We think we notice buildings that we know, but actually we're a bit lost. So the idea for us is to describe the view, to explain how we got there and how this landscape was built and created. And this is how we use Timescope skills in their creativity. Regarding the history of the city, this was also a point in the project to tell the history of Berlin, to be immersed in the history of the city. So we thought about how to tell that story, all the while taking into account the limitations of the site, because we don't want it to get overcrowded, and we wanted to have a profitable business model. So there is indeed a given capacity to this tower. These are lifts, and it's a heritage site, so it's difficult to increase that capacity. So we want to create an experience even before being up there, so that you can understand the landscape that you see once you get to the top of the tower. We're not the tourism agency of Berlin. We want to tell a specific story of the city. We cannot say everything, but we want to give people clues to understand the history, and so that people can rediscover the city when they are back down in the city. So the solution that we developed together is Berlin's Odyssey.
Le principe de Berlin is
The principle of Berlin's Odyssey is that we have a collective VR scheme, and it's an experience that you live in the tower. So when you get to Berlin today, you get your ticket for the tower and potentially your Berlin's Odyssey ticket, which costs 6.5 euros. And you will go over 900 years of history in about 15 minutes.
l'expérience. Vous allez avoir quelques
So you're going to have a few
down.
images of the experience. It's quite spectacular. And it's a scheme that was thought through so that it took into account the architectural limitations and capacity limitations of the site, so that it could easily be understood by the staff, so people can organize group experiences, because there are many groups that come to the site, or individual experiences. So it's about content, and it's about the site itself, and is open to a wide public, because children can discover Berlin's Odyssey and learn a lot. It's accessible to anyone. So here are a few examples of what was developed. So this is really the premises of Berlin, the birds of Berlin, and then we travel through the centuries up until the 19th century. Of course, there are comments in different languages available. And then we reach the era of the wall, and then we see different flats in East Berlin or West Berlin, and we have comments that explain the differences in the daily life of these people, in spite of them being near one another geographically speaking. So I really encourage you to come and try out this experience, and you can have a look at our stand as well. And we've had very positive feedback. We almost reached 5 out of 5 in terms of rating, either from local visitors, so Berliners, people who know the history of their city, but maybe not that much in the end, or from tourists. So it's about storytelling, but it feels as though we're a bird flying over the city, and it's quite impressive. It's something unique. When we see the boats on the river, it feels as though we have Berlin at our fingertips, and it's quite magical an experience, really. For us, it's a real success, because we have over 50,000 visitors who came in the past 6 months. And in terms of rating, we are at 4.9 out of 5. And 9 out of 10 visitors would recommend that experience to people, to friends or family. So for us, it's a real success, both in terms of technique as in terms of creation and feedback from visitors. So these are the results of the survey. We had a satisfaction survey. This is how we got the rating we have. And the keywords that come out are impressive, cool, and realistic. And for us, as we were saying, the TV tower is a historical monument, which is quite dated. It's Sputnik atmosphere, so adding VR in that building, there are very strict rules because it's a heritage site. It was quite a revolution. We managed to do it, and we managed to modernize the image of the tower. So we have visitors we have teenagers who love VR and who want to live that experience. It's not necessarily people who would be attracted to the site before. So we modernize our image and we attract different people. And for MAGNICITY, as I was saying, the starting point of our experience is this view, but it has to be explained, commented, tangible. And all of this content that we created with Timescope is based on the work of historians and experts and a real graphic design, which is extremely detailed. This allows us to have pedagogical entertainment, so we're not boring. We're learning things, so we kill two birds with a stone. It's a beautiful experience. We learn a lot. It's perfect. Thank you very much. I don't know if was that your conclusion? We just wanted to tell you that we are preparing a new experience that will add to this current experience, and since it was such a success, yes, in Berlin. But we have many other projects in the pipeline, some for Paris as well. Well, thank you very much. Are there questions in the room?
In very practical terms, where does the experience take place? It's in the tower at the ground floor before you take the lift, which we need to have strict management of visitor flows. And there are waiting times, people who have to wait and really don't have anything to do while they're waiting before they take the lift. And so we took this free space to make them want to see, to learn at the bottom before they go up to see at the top. Is there any scientific support for this? In all of our productions, we have a scientific committee is set up. It was the case in Berlin. As MAGNICITY is a private operator, we provide the external view of consultants that we bring in. And when we work with public entities in a local authority, generally you have a heritage department and you have existing teams of experts who guide the production of the content and give the approval. If we come back to the design, how long did this take to work on the documents and the creation of the experience? I'd say about 1 year, perhaps, yeah, roughly 1 year. It was quite quick because there was the whole creation of the area, of the space as well. And for the scenography, was that you who prepared that as well? Yeah. Regarding the equipment, how many headsets? There are 5 helmets at this between 25 to 30 for the visitors. And I imagine there is a team that deals with onboarding to explain the equipment to the visitors. Did you train them and provide support? Yes. With Timescope, really, we are spoiled. from the design through to the first visitors. Timescope are there at our side to train the teams, to explain how it works. And so there is a whole briefing. And it's true that the solutions which are set up are designed to be very accessible for the staff who are there. And how many staff do you have for these 25, 30 people? 2. It's quite quick. It's quite simple. It all works with the headset and with a tablet, so it's really something quite flexible and easy. Earlier, you mentioned 50,000 visitors. Is that really who actually? That's 50,000 who have done the experience. Out of the total number of visitors, 50,000 have actually tried the experience and travelled in time. That's a good figure in just a few months. And the question about could this project tour, you're in a place with which is restricted, could you perhaps propose, like with Flyview, could you propose to go to other places to propose the experience remotely or in other venues? Our core business is to be above the city, to look down onto the city and to provide an additional experience to discover the city differently through this sort of experience or others. So we could imagine duplicating the idea, the principle in another tower, and we would like to grow, and we're dynamic enough to do it. But for the moment, we're working on towers. We wouldn't do that somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't necessarily take this touring. So is this a co-production setup or a service provision? It was a service contract. In fact, it is a co-production. The team of Laurence is involved in all the steps of the production, all the stages of the production. We are a supplier, a service provider. In fact, it's a dialogue, very much so. But it's not, strictly speaking, a co-production. And in terms of budget, do you have any figures you could give us?
Yes, we do.
Nope, I'm not going to answer that question. Okay, you're allowed not to answer it.
Yeah, with that question.
And one of the things that might be interesting would be to come back to the future projects you're considering. Can you say more about that for Berlin?
Better.
The idea
For the
here to continue this experience
web product of products download. Whereas well fall show by your temple.
so to fly over the city and to stop off at a number of other venues, but that is still in the process of gestation, so it would be difficult to say more for the moment, but the two experiences will provide a complement to each other. Anyway, a city like Berlin is very rich. There's no shortage of things to discover. Okay, in that case, a big thank you for that presentation. And you can be found on stand. I've forgotten the number. It's just on the right. Yeah, just after the
I think with all
just after the Innovation TV studio.